Otherwise I'd have to bring you down to earth too. I know this verse hurts you. I tell you what, I give you advice. I'm feeling nice. Your vices could influence your writing if you weren't biting.
I guess we do got to talk about AEW Dynamite, despite the fact that I don't really want to. I don't really want to, dog. But let's do it. I watched the show. Some of you actually watched it too. So I guess we all have to suffer it with this together. But at least just try to have some fun with it. All right? We're going to try to have fun. So perk up. We're about to try to have fun. The All-Atlantic Championship, Orange Cassidy defeats Jay Lethal. All right. If you say this match was 18 minutes or something like that, it was in the neighborhood of 20 minutes. I mean, Jesus. Who would have thought that you're going to give 20 minutes to Orange Cassidy and Jay Lethal? My good. Do these guys get paid by the minute? Like, that'd be the only way to justify them being in the ring so long, is they got to have at least a decent paycheck. If they get paid the same thing, whether they work 20 minutes or 10 minutes, then we probably should push it back down towards 10. Okay? 15 maximum. This one felt like it was 20 minutes. Jesus H. Christ. Jay Lethal did the best that he could, but it's Orange Cassidy, for Christ's sake. Orange Cassidy wins. After the match, Jarrett and Singh were ejected early. Jarrett doubled back and attacked Orange Cassidy from behind with the stroke, and then hit him in the knee with the guitar. This was all before Best Friends and nobody else did anything. In fact, I don't remember seeing those guys at all. Not that I care to. I'm not saying I care to see them. I'm just saying, shouldn't they have been there when he was getting jumped? I don't know. Maybe they got dumped in that stuff that turned all the tunes into ashes, on Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Maybe that's what happened to him. Maybe everybody just melted, and hopefully we don't have to see him again. In any event, Jarrett attacked Orange Cassidy from behind with the stroke, then hit him in the knee with the guitar. This makes Jeff Jarrett the number one contender. This would get us to a very odd part of the show, where Tony Khan is standing in front of a camera with a microphone, which could never go well. Still, for the chuckles, he gets on the microphone and he says something to the effect of, "This is going to be the last All-Atlantic Championship match." Jay Lethal and Orange Cassidy was the last All-Atlantic Championship match. And in conjunction with Warner Brothers Discovery and the movie Shazam, they're going to rename the All-Atlantic Championship the International Championship. Am I supposed to have feelings about this? Look, I tell you this, what does Warner Brothers and Shazam got to do with you renaming the championship? It's not the Shazam world title or anything like that. So what the hell does Shazam got to do with this? I guess he had to drop a commercial because I guess he figured, I'm going to integrate Shazam and Warner Brothers into this thing somehow, and saying like, oh yeah, I guess Warner Brothers and Shazam, the movie, are going to pay me to rename this stupid belt. Well, they probably should have paid you to get rid of it. Get rid of it completely. I'm not mad at it being an international title. I mean, it is what it is. It was pretty much an international title anyway. But I thought All Atlantic was at least a creative name. I'm not married to it, but it was at least creative. I didn't hate the name. So next week is Jeff Jarrett versus Orange Cassidy for the International Championship. International. I don't know. Maybe it's new rules. I don't think it's going to raise the prestige of the championship, as Tony Khan started talking about leveling up the All-Atlantic Championship. We're leveling it up. We're leveling it up. From third belt to 2.8th belt? What are we leveling it up to? Leveling it up from what to what? What is the relationship between the All-Atlantic Championship and the TNT title? Which one is more prestigious? We know which one came first. But which one is more prestigious? This is why one of these titles need to have a rule. Like, I thought the All Atlantic title or the international title was the one that had to be defended in other countries, because that's what they was doing at first. They had Pac on and wrestling in all these other countries with the All Atlantic title. I guess people kind of got frustrated because they couldn't see those matches without having to watch those shows or something like that. And then they decided it was just another American-centered belt. So now it's European title territory where we don't know what it is. It's lesser than the TNT belt just by design. For instance, the TNT Championship was the main event. The All Atlantic title was the opener. Depending on your opinion, you might have liked the opener better than the main event. But I think most people will look at it and look at the lineage of the All Atlantic title and say, yeah, Scorpio Sky didn't have this belt, so this one's better. At the same time, Orange Cassidy didn't have that other belt, so maybe that one's better. I don't know. But it would have been nice if you're going to have multiple singles championships that they should have separate rules. I'm just kind of really big on that. Ever since Eric Bischoff talked about that, I 100% agree. Maybe you could have a world title and an Intercontinental Championship, a mid-card belt. All right, but everything after that should be some kind of gimmick. A television title that had a gimmick of a time limit, something like that, in order to make it unique, make it something different, and not just another iteration of a similar championship, weight class, stylistic differences or something like that. Whatever. Anyway, Orange Cassidy versus Jeff Jarrett. I am creaming my pants. Anyway, Powerhouse Hobbs cut a promo, said that it was unfortunate what happened to Wardlow, but it wouldn't have happened to a guy like him in a place like this, and says that he might not have the physical title, but he's going to walk out of this show the TNT Championship. Wardlow says that he had to borrow some clothes from some buddies, which means he just wore a FTR shirt, and says that he's going to demolish Powerhouse Hobbs, and no man on earth is going to take away his championship. But before that, he says he wanted to challenge Hobbs to a no disqualification Falls Count Anywhere match, completely out of nowhere. At least they have history, but they're not doing this match out of history. They're doing this because Wardlow doesn't have any clothes. That's why. He doesn't have any gear, so it's going to be a street fight, Falls Count Anywhere. Somehow, also last man standing. I don't know. This is now we're veering into Herb Abrams stuff, like where it's pinfalls, submissions, and if you don't answer the 10 count in a Falls Count Anywhere match. That's not how these words. That's not how this works. Anyway, Wardlow got robbed. Somebody broke into his rental car, stole the TNT Championship, and stole all of his clothes. That was awful. But it's California. That's California. I mean, California has had out of control crime for a few years now. It's been pretty bad out there. I'm pretty sure if he finds his way down Skid Row with all those muscles and everything, he could walk straight down Skid Row. The giant tent city that exists in California. And I'm pretty sure if he's hung around 2-3 minutes, some heroin addict will be snorting off of his TNT title. I'm pretty sure if he just hangs around Skid Row enough, he'll find it. I'm pretty sure that if you can't eat it, you can't snort it, you can't put it in a needle, it'll pop up somewhere in California. And not like somebody's going to try to, what are they going to do? Try to take it to a pawn shop and hock it? The best thing they're going to do is probably try to sell it to some mark. There's nothing they can do with it. So, unless they're going to keep it for years and years like they did the original AEW World Title and they just keep it in a lockbox somewhere until people forget about it and then, turn around and try to sell it when the price or the value of it goes up. But like I'm saying, California, man, they're going to try to dig the diamonds or something like that out of it. It's going to be the best that you could do, But I feel bad for him. I hate that they stole his clothes. They actually stole things of value from him because they actually resell the clothes, You can probably he gonna walk again. He gonna be in Skid Row, and some homeless man gonna be wearing his gear. I mean, guy's gonna be on the side of the road in his tent city wearing a singlet. It's gonna be an awkward conversation, I'm pretty sure. Like, hey, I wore that on pay-per-view. But hey, there it is. Since we're here, Powerhouse Hobbs versus Wardlow for the TNT Championship. The match started backstage. They got into a bit of a fight. It did a lot of work on the car. It was like Street Fighter. You bang the car up, they tore up the door and broke the windows and all this kind of stuff. They fought around the building. Wardlow at one point does a senton bomb through a table. Awesome spot for a guy like him. Again, I like Wardlow. We get up to the ramp up near the announcers to the left. I see that there's a TNT championship over there. I'm like, okay, they got a replica. Cool. I was about to get on their case the whole night. I'm like, they keep saying he doesn't physically have the belt. I said, like, clearly you have to have a replica somewhere. It's been a few hours. You got to have a replica somewhere. So they did find a replica TNT belt. So the match was going on fine. I'm not complaining thus far. And then out of nowhere comes a worthless piece of garbage by the name of QT Marshall. And he's got a steel chair. And I said, like, now, what's happening here? QT Marshall starts to hit Wardlow with this chair. And I'm like, oh no. Oh no. Poor Hobbs. This is an abortion. He doesn't even have a chance. This thing's got Down syndrome already. Anyway. They're yelling about QTV. I don't know what that is. They're yelling about Powerhouse Hobbs is owed a favor by QT Marshall. I don't know why. I don't know what the relationship to these characters are. I don't know anything about this. I'm sorry, I'm not a good enough AEW fan. What is going on? All right? Why is this happening? Why is this happening? What's going on? Now, the only thing I know about QT Marshall is that he was online recently belly aching about the factory being separated because they were getting too much heat from the IWC, which is hilarious to me. That Tony Khan continues to make booking decisions based off what the internet says. The internet doesn't like the factory, so he broke it up. Maybe they should have broke up because they sucked. Not because, well, a bunch of neckbeards that what culture don't like them. Should have been the last thing you should have been thinking of. Maybe it's because they were killing the ratings. Maybe it's because they weren't going anywhere and they've been together for a year and a half. Who knows? But just because, the internet doesn't like them, we're going to get rid of them. That's weird. Odd decision making. But you take him from Nick Camarado and all of those guys who, look, to be quite honest, don't need him. And then you put him with Powerhouse Hobbs. For what? Why does Hobbs need him? What role is QT Marshall going to play in the life of Powerhouse Hobbs, and why? Why? Why does jacked up super thug Powerhouse Hobbs need dad bod Homer Simpson QT Marshall? Why does he need him? Why does he need the wrestling version of Fred Flintstone in his corner? What did he need him for? To talk? Hobbs don't need to talk. Have you looked at the man? All right, you don't have to talk that much. I really wish that they would treat Hobbs like Mr. Hughes or something like that, where he's just kind of stood there and flexed. And maybe you get somebody who has some actual talent to talk on his behalf. Somebody who isn't boring. Somebody who doesn't look like a 40-year-old Volkswagen driving Honda Civic dad. Fuck out of here with this guy, man. QT Marshall sucks. Balding, check. Portly, check. Boring, check. Over the age of 35 and somehow a veteran and still somebody that nobody knows. Check. Works at AEW doing nondescript work in an office somewhere. Check. All the terrible things that could possibly be. You throw in the corner of a Powerhouse Hobbs. My God, why can't this guy catch a break? I mean, you give him Hobbs wins the championship because Orange Cassidy, my God, you got me so frustrated I'm forgetting my people. Because QT Marshall and Powerhouse Hobbs threw him off the stage onto what was probably the softest foam thing. I don't even want to know what you want to call it. It barely collapsed. A guy the size of Wardlow barely put a hole in this thing. It was so soft. And then he couldn't get up for a count of 10. So Hobbs didn't win by pinfall or submission. He won due to 10 count non-response. So, and okay, sure. Hobbs wins. I want to be happy that Hobbs wins because I thought Hobbs would lose. I actually pitched Hobbs losing in order to establish Wardlow. But they don't care about Wardlow, and apparently they don't care about Hobbs either. They fucked Wardlow again. Poor Wardlow. Again. This is poor Wardlow number 5 or 6. You don't do this to this guy. He just won the belt. He just won it. He just won it. All right. So he just won it. He lost it to Powerhouse Hobbs. You fucked it by, having QT Marshall get involved. So you're trying to get some heat there. And now you're putting Wardlow back in the chase mode, which normally is fine. Hobbs would have been a great opponent to lose the belt to if he got a couple of, wins under his belt, especially against some other opponents. And then, Hobbs comes along again, Clubber Lang and Rocky, Wardlow been ducking me. And then he beats Wardlow, even if it was by cheating. Then I would be excited about this, because then it would be like Wardlow and Powerhouse Hobbs are going to have this long-term thing. Could be fun. Hoss fights, big meaty men slapping meat. It's going to be great. Unfortunately, I'm saddled with QT Marshall and the fact that Wardlow takes one step forward and then gets knocked 10 steps back. It's ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. But this is Booker of the Year, my guys. My dudes. Booker of the Year. 3 years in a row. Promoter of the Year. 3 years in a row. He got, Tony Khan cooking. I just don't like the flavors. He cooking all right. Yeah, he cooking. He cooking like my auntie cooks. My auntie couldn't boil water, for Christ's sake. If it wasn't for Street Fighter, I would not have survived. Shit. All praise be to Street Fighter 2 Turbo, man. I had to have something to do in those days, man. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. If it wasn't for Street Fighter 2 Turbo, I wouldn't have made it through, 1994 through 96. I probably wouldn't have made it. Enough about Hobbs, which should have been an excellent moment, especially for me, a guy who's been pushing for Hobbs since he was a jobber. But it's unfortunate that they fucked this up with goddamn QT Marshall. It's not good. Come on, man. Give me the book. Anyway, let's move on. Ricky Starks comes out there. He's looking spiffy. He says that, people are asking him what now? What is he going to do next? And he said that he's not sure what he's going to do next or where he's going to go next. And before he finishes his thought, the Bullet Club theme song blasts through the speakers. And you see grown men jump on their feet like, yeah, it's a Bullet Club, yeah. And I'm like, Jay White is it? Oh, this is about to be Jay White. This is about to be fun. Ricky Starks, Jay White, that could be cool. It's Juice Robinson. It's Juice Robinson. Okay. Imagine for a moment. You wake up Christmas morning. Your wife or girlfriend or whatever, your significant other, your mate, your partner, if you prefer that language. I hate the word partner. They're outside. They're trying to wake you up. You're going to go out and you look in the driveway. You think they got you a new car. You're like, ooh, got a new car. They yank the covering off of there, and it's a 1972 beat up yellow Volkswagen. I said Volkswagen earlier, didn't I? He was Volkswagen earlier. It's a Pinto. Okay, it's a Pinto with chipped paint on it. And you're like, huh? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? And they're like, don't you love your new car? You're like, what? This car is worthless. Like, you and 3 bums pushed this from the junkyard to the driveway overnight. It was a waste of your time. That's slightly more interesting than Juice Robinson. I would rather have a 50-year-old used car than watch a Juice Robinson match. I promise you that. Juice Robinson, he's not quite on Sanjay Dutt tier of useless motherfuckers in the wrestling business, but he's up there. Top 15, top 20 useless motherfuckers. Juice Robinson is right there in the middle. He's got a prestigious spot in being one of the most useless motherfuckers ever made. Having to talk about Orange Cassidy, Juice Robinson, and QT Marshall on this show what are you doing? Are you trying to bore people? Do you like low ratings? Do you like people not watching this shit? Is that what you prefer? Do you prefer people not watching your show? Because if you are in favor of people not watching your show, keep putting Juice Robinson on here. What? I wouldn't, of all the people to put on your wrestling show, you choose Orange Cassidy, which you could at least make the excuse that he's over. Okay, he's over. Okay. But then you put QT Marshall on the show. He's not over. Nobody cares about him. He's not interesting. Why is he here? And then Juice Robinson, who most people forgot exists. Ricky Starks now has to work with Juice Robinson. And how the hell is that going to benefit him? How is that going to benefit him? Ricky Starks, man, trying to be a star, man. He's doing the best that he can. He out here working very, very hard. And then Juice Robinson shows up to shit and piss all over it. Just smother it in feces and waste. Ugh, cannot stand Juice Robinson. What the fuck? Why would you do this? Why would you do this? It's embarrassing. It sucks. All right. Let's talk about Ruby Soho for a moment. Because despite the fact that a lot of people on the interwebs did not like this promo, I actually did. This promo was a good villain origin story. My critique of this storyline, and it's still one of the worst in wrestling, believe it or not. This would have been so much better if they'd have done this weeks ago. Now, Ruby Soho cut what they call a You People promo. This is what, if you look up a You People promo, it's when you blame the fans for you turning on them. You turned on me first. And in a typical sort of villainous role, the villain blames society for making him what he is. You know, the Nino Brown situation. Nino Brown goes to court. He's like, hey, we don't own no boats. This is bigger than Nino Brown. You know, that's a You People promo. You people created Nino Brown. You know, it ain't my fault. All you people did that. That's basically what Ruby Soho and many people, WWE does it a lot, the You People promos. People hate this. You know, the internet hates the You People promo. But you can't blame an individual person. Now you can. And Ruby Soho absolutely could. Because she was treated like absolute basura by Britt Baker back when they weren't sure whether Britt Baker was a babyface or a heel. So, I mean, that would have been nice. But here's the promo. The promo consisted of this. That the people created this monster. That the people were thrilled when she lost to Britt Baker and she wrestled her for the world title. The people complained and bitched and whined and booed and turned on her when she beat Chris Statlander, which is the first time Chris Statlander's name has been mentioned in like a year. And she realized as she got beat at the pay-per-view that nobody was ever going to be mad when she lost because everybody loves Jamie Hayter. She said she's not appreciated. She said Toni Storm was not appreciated. In fact, the non-appreciation for Toni Storm is she didn't even get to get called a world champion. They called her an interim champion. And that they begged for Saraya to come out of retirement. She did it for them. And then they turned on her. It's like, okay, you cannot like you people promos, but how can you deny anything she just said? There's nothing she just said is untrue. All right? She just gave you a really good villain origin story. You people don't appreciate us. You keep attacking us, turning on us, and you're kind of stretching it a little bit with the whole it's because we're outsiders thing. You know, that's sort of a stretch, but this is the nature of the beast. A heel is not supposed to be 100% true. They're supposed to take small things in order to excuse their negative behaviors. Oh, I'm black and I'm from the hood, I'm poor. It's like all that might be true, but you're still an asshole. Same thing here. Sure, you might be behind the 8 ball financially or racially in society or whatever, but it doesn't change your personal behavior. Your personal behavior is still your personal behavior. That's what we call a moral code. You, as a fan, are supposed to have a moral code that even if I did something wrong, that doesn't justify you doing something wrong. All right? That's the thing. You're the asshole here, brother. I don't mind a you people promo. I just minded if it was good or not. And I think this was fairly solid. I think she did a really good job here of getting over why she turned. My problem is it was dumb because she waited until she already lost. Instead of going way back to when Britt Baker disrespected her and said, Britt Baker caused this problem. I tried to go to Britt Baker as an equal and say, hey, look, I don't feel the way that they feel, but Britt Baker was being high and mighty. She was being an elitist. She was talking too much. She thinking too highly of herself. She thought she was better than me. She think I wasn't worthy of her time. That would have been a perfect excuse to mix the you people promo where you're blaming the fans, but you're also going to blame an individual and you're going to blame Britt Baker. Now, the way that they did it here, they just blamed the fans, which is still fine. So she ended up having a match with Sky Blue, which was not fine. Not fine, actually. They, of course, pushed this idea that Sky Blue is another AEW homegrown. I'm like, is she really grown yet? She's more like an AEW seedling because she just been planted into the ground and left there. She hasn't been watered. There's no sunlight. There's nothing. There's no fruit coming from this tree, so she's certainly not grown. She's an AEW seedling, just like a lot of these other seedlings. She's just been planted and left, abandoned. You know, I'm not sure if she's a weed or what. I'm not sure what's going on here. Everybody seems to like her, but they won't do anything with her. So it is what it is. So after the match, Toni Storm, Saraya, they come down and start painting Sky Blue. Willow Nightingale, another AEW seedling, she runs to the ring to try to talk some sense into Ruby Soho. Because they were tag team partners several weeks ago. And she figures, I might be able to talk some sense into Ruby. Okay, that's a sensible storyline. Maybe we should have done this shortly after the promo. Maybe we should have had them backstage laughing at how they, humiliated Sky Blue, and then Willow Nightingale approached them and said, hey, I know I'm probably out of line here, but this ain't really you. This ain't really who you really are. It probably would have been a little bit better. But Willow running to the ring as they're beating the tar out of and humiliating Sky Blue, getting in her face, getting in Ruby's face. Of course she was going to get beat up. So she got beat up too. And nobody saved them. She just got beat up and left laying there. I'm like, okay. Look, I like Willow Nightingale. I like the idea of Willow Nightingale trying to be the peacemaker. I like this. Unfortunately, I don't like the way that they did it. That's all. I think we should have turned Ruby weeks ago, then had Willow try to talk her out of it, and had, that sort of thing happen way back then, we should be in a different place right now. To me, that would have been better. I'm trying to, look at the positive, because there's a lot of people who are very upset about this storyline. They hate it. My thing is, it's not great, but just because something isn't perfect doesn't mean it can't be fixed. I try to do little storyline rehabs here. All you really need to do is take an idea that you have, maybe put it in a different place, a different context, a little different verbiage, a little bit different dialogue, maybe some different players, and things can be better, even with a notoriously kind of crap story. Besides, if you don't let them have this story, bro, they won't have any on this show. All right? If you don't give them this story and try to give them credit for at least trying to do this on an episodic basis, they have nothing else. All right? They got nothing else. And it's unfortunate. So let's just give them a break. All right, Hangman Page cut a promo, says that he let his heart blacken on Saturday. And that if you push him, he's going to take you to hell. Then he looked at Renee and says that, he's been giving her a hard time and he apologizes for that. Then he says that he apologizes for what she had to see in terms of Jon Moxley. And then said that as far as he knows, him and Jon Moxley are finished. They're not going to go through this again. Well, about 45 minutes later, Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli defeat and destroy the Dark Order. This was a waste of... let's count the bums. Juice Robinson, Orange Cassidy, QT Marshall. Sanjay Dutt was on this show, but it was a minimal amount of time. John Silver, Alex Reynolds on this show. Evil Uno was on this show. Okay, Moxley chokes out one of those guys in the Dark Order. I don't know which one. I don't remember. I don't care. He refused to let go of the hold, and therefore the other member of the Dark Order came out there. Claudio started beating the tar out of that guy. Fat Boy Evil Uno runs out there to try to save his friends. He got his ass beat too, and that led to Hangman Page coming out there to make the save. Hangman he blows past the BCC. He's ignoring them. He's trying to check on Alex Reynolds, but he's not really checking on him because he's standing in the ring. Alex Reynolds is on the floor. Claudio pats him on the shoulder for some odd reason, and Hangman Page just hauls off and punches Claudio in the head. So now the fight is on. Everybody's fighting everybody. Moxley is outside the ring pasting and shoulder shrugging and everything, and Claudio is punching Hangman Page in the head. Hangman Page got to zab Judah noodle legs after getting punched in the dome by Claudio a bunch of times. So I'm thinking, okay, Hangman, Claudio, that's the thing now. I'm actually not mad at that. I'm not mad at it because Claudio has been on the bench in AEW for so long that I'm finally just willing to accept that he's going to be doing something of note if he gets involved with a feud with Hangman Page. The promos are going to be super cringe because Hangman isn't sure if he's a tough guy or if he's a cupcake. I'm not sure what he's doing over there, but I know Claudio ain't really strong on promos. The guy's great at every other aspect of pro wrestling with the exception of promos. He's just such an understated personality. But I am not interested in the least bit, not even a little bit, with the Dark Order and the Blackpool Combat Club. Why would I have any interest in Wheeler Yuta? Why? What interest could there possibly be to be had in Wheeler Yuta? I'm supposed to care about John Silver? I mean, if that's your plan, is to get me to care about John Silver, mission failed. Because I don't give a damn about that guy. I don't care about that guy. Don't care about this feud. I kind of like Moxley. I kind of like Claudio. But Hangman Page, he got nosy neighbor energy. I don't like that guy, man. It's just something about him I don't like. So, I'm not interested in this feud whatsoever. Please do something else with Claudio. Please do something else with Moxley. Please. Feel free to do something else with Hangman Page. Like, I don't know, crash test dummy this weirdo into a brick wall or something. All right, so we got the Acclaimed. They're hanging out in, quote, Scissormento. They were interrupted by 2.0, who said that they loved the Acclaim, and then said that the Acclaimed are sports entertainers at heart. And I'm guessing this was supposed to be an opening to get these guys to join the Jericho Appreciation Society. Oh boy. Oh jeez. They laughed at him. Acclaimed laughed at him and said that we're on TV more than you guys. Made fun of them, and that was it. I'm not a big fan of the Acclaimed being used in this way. I like the Acclaimed. I try to like the Acclaimed anyway. I'm not really a big fan of the rap gimmicks. Just not. I think they've been going on since like 1993, maybe even earlier. So I'm not a big fan of it. But for the most part, these guys are super over, and they need to be rebuilt. I'm just not sure that a feud with the Jericho guys is the best way to do this. I'm just not sure that's the right way we want to go, is to do the Jericho dudes. It's like, how about no? How about not doing a feud with the Jericho guys? How about that? Speaking of the Jericho guys, the Jericho Appreciation Society defeated Top Flight and AR Fox in a trios match. The Jericho Appreciation Society was Chris Jericho, Daniel Garcia, and Sammy Guevara. This, of course, had all of the flips. Every single imaginable flip. AR Fox is like 48 years old, and he just has spring chicken legs. He just jumps all over the place. This guy's trying to flip his way out of poverty. He's been in the business a long time. He's trying to flip his way out of unemployment. All right. He's out here. He got that dog in him. You know what I'm saying? You know, if I was Darius or Dante Martin, I would look at AR Fox like the ghost of Christmas future. Absolutely. You keep that shit up, you know, you're going to end up just like this guy. He's been doing this shit a long time. All the handspring whoopity doo-dahs. He's been doing this stuff forever. And he is where he is. So, might want to learn another skill. So, after the match, because of course the Jericho Appreciation Society win. The Jericho Appreciation Society claimed themselves the greatest trios winners in history. So that tonight was the 1 year anniversary of their formation, which okay. I don't know if that's true or not. It doesn't matter. Then they said they're the number one contenders for the trios titles, in which I said, after one win? After one? Okay. That's a short list. So they called out the House of Black, but the Elite appeared instead. Kenny Omega gets on the microphone and says that for 3 years, he stayed out of Chris Jericho's business, and Chris Jericho has stayed out of his business. And he was hoping that was out of mutual respect. But when you talk about the trios titles, you can't talk about the trios titles without talking about the Elite. Don Callis then took over and said that the Elite are truly still the number one contenders. He's been friends with Chris Jericho for 33 years. And Chris Jericho is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. But Chris Jericho is only the second best wrestler from Winnipeg. And then he said that if he had time to train, Jericho would be third. So that means he's saying Kenny Omega is a better wrestler than Chris Jericho. At this point, Jericho is yelling at Don Callis to get in the ring and face him and all this kind of stuff. And the House of Black appear. Malachi Black says they plan to humiliate both teams, and says that next week he wants them to bring it. So I don't know what kind of match this is going to be. Is this going to be a 9-man match where it's going to be 3 and 3 corners? If that's going to be the case, that's going to be chaotic, and there's going to be people all over the place. It's going to look like a battle royal. That's what it's going to look like. So it looks like that's what it's going to be, though. It's going to be a triple threat trios championship match, which is double gimmicked. That's crazy. Not against it, because at least it's a spectacle. You know, it's going to be like a car crash. It's got to be. It's going to be worse than a car crash. It's going to be like bumper cars. It's going to be people bumping into each other constantly, falling all over each other. So I'm okay with this. I'm not sure why the House of Black doesn't just, get some wins first before we start doing all this stuff. Maybe get some more wins. get seen on TV a little bit before we start jumping into the we're going to humiliate everybody gimmick. I don't know. I'm weirded out a lot by Daniel Garcia, who is also on this show. I'm not going to add him to the bums list, but he's a bum for sure. He's just young. I'm gonna give him a break. He's like 24 or 25 or something like that. I'm not going to write his whole career off just because he has no personality right now. I don't know. He might actually grow up, have sex eventually, find a sense of humor or something. Until then, I don't know, man. He's just a lost cause. We'll be all right. He'll be okay. I'm praying for him. I pray for you, buddy. Pray for that personality. MJF, they did a promo segment for him by saying that he said that Bryan Danielson isn't on his level, and he showed everybody what he can do in the ring. Danielson doubted his abilities. So he says it's time for him to celebrate, and that he's going to celebrate his birthday, March 15th, in Winnipeg with his re-bar mitzvah. Re-bar mitzvah. Okay. So I'm guessing the next opponent is going to take a step out of the shadows at this point. I'm okay with MJF having a rebar mitzvah. Sounds very WWE. It's definitely going to involve a big cake. And if it involves a big cake, it needs to go in his face. So, I mean, if that's what they want, I don't know nothing about bar mitzvahs, man. I don't know that much about that stuff. Is there cake at bar mitzvah? What do you have at a bar mitzvah? I don't know. Maybe I should have Googled that first. I don't want to make too many insensitive jokes about the brackets, because, you know, bad things happen when you talk about the brackets. The redacted, as Hotep Jesus talk about. You talk about the redacted. Bad things happen to your YouTube channel. You know, bad things happen in your life. You know, you don't want to be what. I'm not gonna continue. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do it. Not to myself. Anyway, FTR cut a promo with Tony Schiavone. They talked about the last few months being the worst time in their careers and how rough it's been. They lost various matches, lost their championships, needed to step away and to recharge. But they couldn't sit back and watch the Guns call themselves the best tag team in the world. Cash Wheeler called them spoiled, entitled assholes. He wishes that he had all the things that the Guns were able to get. You know, private school and all of these other great amenities, that he was able to have that when he was a kid, or to be able to do that for his children. Dax Harwood says that he talks a lot about his wife and his daughter, how much he loves them, he talks about them a lot, actually. He reminds me of Hughes from Full Metal Alchemist. He must have just walked around and pull out a picture of his daughter every damn week. Look at my kid, she's so cute. Isn't she beautiful? Don't you love her so much? You know, she's daddy's little girl. Look at her. Look at her dimples. That's when she was eating chocolate. She's covered in spaghetti sauce. Look at her. Anyway, Dax loves the fans because the fans loved him even when he felt unloved. Then he says that the Guns ruined one of his memories, one of his best friends, and that it was going to be easy to beat their ass, but now he's going to hit them where it hurts and take their tag team championships. He was talking about Jay Briscoe, if I believe correctly, that the last time that they were in the ring with the Briscoes, the Guns came out there, which, you know, integrating that into the storyline, okay, you know, it's not tasteless or anything like that, because he's trying to say, look, we had a moment here, and we didn't know this was probably going to be the last time we was going to be in this environment with this guy, and it was ruined by the gun boys. So, okay, fair enough. Didn't hate FTR's promo. Now, according to FTR bald, because he does all the talking for the team, nothing has changed on their contract situation, and that a lot of this stuff that was going on was merely, well, I shouldn't say that. Basically, he said that nothing's changed with their contract situation. Other people are saying, which is probably a little bit more accurate, that the sabbatical and the talks of going back to WWE and all that was kind of a work to try to get people interested in FTR again. Which, to me, if your if your idea of a work is to tease going to WWE, it's like, isn't somebody already doing that gimmick? How many people doing that gimmick right now? Like it's like the number one gimmick. Like Vince loves his narcissist type characters, his models and stuff. When he thinks a guy has a look or something like that, he gives him the model gimmick. If that's his thing, then AEW's thing is, I'm going to go to WWE. Which I'm not surprised that that's his thing, because Tony Khan grew up watching ECW, and they did it on ECW a lot. They did it a lot where guys would tease going to WWE. Rob Van Dam did it. They would have like Jerry Lawler come in and do it. There was a bunch of guys who came in, and Mick Foley. Well, that was WCW when it was Mick Foley, the anti-hardcore promos and stuff. So he's not really doing too much in the way of creative if everybody's doing the same gimmick. All right, so I guess this is the last thing. Jade Cargill says that she beat everybody in the United States, and now she wants to see what the whack-ass Canadians can do. She's just lost in the sauce. So she has an open challenge for any Canadian female wrestler. Man, she's just so lost. Poor baby. She's got so much potential, but they refuse to challenge her. They treat her like a porcelain doll. They give her absolutely nothing to do. So a lot of people have tossed around a lot of ideas and people who are Canadian female wrestlers. And I think the general consensus is that it's going to be Taya Valkyrie. Because Taya is Canadian. I think she's finishing up with Impact, and she's finishing up with MLW. So I'm guessing she's likely to be the number one option. Taya Valkyrie, I think, fits in AEW. I think she would do a good job there. I hate that she didn't really get an opportunity in WWE. I think that she would have fit in there too. But it seemed like she came in at around that time where they were changing NXT, and she had to have a certain character, and she hadn't had time to really get into that character, because as she was coming in, the things with Triple H were going on, and then Shawn took over, and things kind of, she got caught in the whirlwind of what was happening with NXT at the time. So I felt like, hey, if she'd have been given another opportunity, I think she would have did great. I mean, you gave Chelsea Green another shot. I know that Taya's a little bit older, so maybe people are kind of like, yeah, there's no point. Taya's almost 40, or she's not already 40. Why are we going to go back to that? It's like, well, Candice LeRae, No, just saying. Actually, Candice LeRae might be younger than I think. It might be another one of those things where it's like Zoe Stark, where I think she's 48 years old and she's really like 26 or something like that. I was so embarrassed when I found out that woman wasn't as old as I thought she was. I was so embarrassed. All right. Anyway, of all the female Canadian wrestlers that are available, I think Taya Valkyrie is number one on that list. I think some people have said Angelina Love is available as well, and she's also Canadian. I didn't know she was Canadian. I don't think it matters because she's in NWA. I don't think she's leaving either. At least I haven't heard she was leaving. I can't think of a Canadian female wrestler that would make a big difference. And they're certainly not going to win. My thing is, you need to start challenging Jade Cargill. And she might benefit more from losing than winning at this point. But I'm interested in seeing who it's going to be. They're going to do the old secret opponent thing so far. So, okay, I'm cool with that. Secret opponent is fine. They used to do it a little too much, but it's been a while since they've done who's the surprise opponent going to be? The Luchador Sorpresa. Who's it going to be? So if it's going to be Taya, I think this ought to be great. I'm not a fan of her coming in losing her first match though. Not a big fan of that. But what can you do? It's AEW. They refuse to shake things up. They refuse to do vignettes and bring anybody in. They refuse to do anything. Anything that normal wrestling companies would do. Anything that normal people would do. AEW is kind of like, nope. We're the Riris of the wrestling business. We're going to do things our own way. Like, okay, sure. All right, so that was Dynamite. Dynamite was not Dynamite. Dynamite was a wet fart. It had a lot of bums on the show, but nothing else you could really do about that, looking at their roster. I mean, AEW went from having a top-tier roster filled with all kinds of guys who were, hot as fish grease when they came in, to now one of their top heels is JEFF, a guy who made his debut in the late 80s, who joined the WWF in like 1993, when most of your roster was either in diapers or not even born yet. And it says a lot that, this is how the AEW, and it's not even, it's roster management more than anything, It's how they treat young guys more than anything. They'll give them a win, like Jungle Boy won his feud over Christian. Is Jungle Boy featured on this show? Nope. Ricky Starks won his feud over Chris Jericho. His reward for beating Chris Jericho is to fight Juice Robinson. Oh my word. Oh my word. This guy needs to be built. He can't be in the business of trying to help Juice Robinson get over. Besides, what kind of miracles do you think this guy can do? You must think that he must be one of those Harry Potter guys that he has like magic wands in his fingers and can change Juice Robinson into something decent. He can't. That's too much to ask. You're asking for too much. It's been the problem. Oh yeah, I forgot about Bryan Danielson's promo. Ooh, I don't know if I talked long enough I would come across something I forgot. So Bryan Danielson cut a promo. It was very emotional. And I'm going to close on this. He talked about Max being right. MJF was right. He said, I thought I was doing this for my children, showing them that if you truly love something, you should fight for it. But after I got hit in the head with that steel tank and I was knocked unconscious, and when I woke up, the only thing I was in the labella lock and I couldn't feel my arms. And my first reaction was to fight. He said, then I thought about what Max said, and that all the damage he had done to his body, and that he couldn't feel his arms, that he was putting himself before his family, and that shamed him more than tapping out. So he said, it's time to go home. It's time to leave. And I said to myself, Brother Danielson, this is not the time. I pray to Danielson, brother, it is not the time. AEW needs you now more than ever before. But at least I love the idea that losing has consequences. That the storyline that went into the match matters coming out of the match. Danielson lost. He suffered a severe head injury in doing so. It was brought up in the promos that he has a history of severe head injuries. It was considered that maybe this isn't the right thing for him to be doing. That maybe he should rethink this. Now, of course, he's just going to go home, recharge, and come back and say, this is what I meant to do. I don't care about my kids. Or whatever. But, he's not going to do that. He's not going to come out here and say he doesn't care about his kids. But he's just going to go and refocus and come back. But I think he needs a break. He does need a break. Danielson has been on every episode of Dynamite for the last 6 weeks or so. And, yeah, we kind of need another top babyface. The issue here is they didn't present anybody as a top babyface this week. Maybe next week. Maybe MJF comes out and for his rebar mitzvah and somebody emerges from the dark as a top guy. But I really enjoyed Danielson's promo. I thought it was very good. And it was probably the best thing on the show. So I really enjoyed Bryan Danielson's promo. I thought it was fun. This show was miserable. It was abysmal. When you started the show with 15 to 20 minutes of Orange Cassidy, it's not going anywhere. Trust me, it's not good. It's not going anywhere productive. I promise you that. So let me know what you guys think. Do all the YouTube things, fellas and ladies. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to all of you people later. Peace out.
MagMongoSlade.
Best house I ever drew, Daddy.